All right, so this is going to be just kind of a quick little video. I just had to make a video on this. So they put out two new articles on fabtcg.com. They did one on the errata, how some cards are worded. I think most of this is pretty straightforward. I do want to touch on two interactions here that I think are interesting. And then they've put out a banned and suspended announcement, which is it's spicy. But let's talk about this real quick first. So there's really only two interactions here. I read through the whole list. Most of them seem pretty straightforward. A lot of them are just they're changing things now to prevent issues in the future. So like, for instance, these cards are all ones that talk about putting a card on the bottom of its owner's deck. So the way they are currently worded is if this attack hits or if whatever resolves, put it on the bottom of your deck. And this could lead to cards that you steal from your opponent going to the bottom of your deck, essentially. Which I don't think there's anything that currently does that yet, but that means that they're thinking about doing this, right? So that's pretty cool. The one that I wanted to talk about, though, or there's two rather, they've reworded how Runechants and Quicken tokens interact with attacking. So they kind of word this really weird here, but I just kind of wanted to go over this so if anybody was unclear. So the new text on the Runechant and Quicken tokens is when you play an attack action card or activate a weapon attack, destroy Quicken and the attack gains go again, or, the Runechant effect, it deals 1 arcane damage. Now, the reason they changed the wording to this is if you read Quicken tokens, and the same for Runechants from the previous iteration, it says when you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, destroy Quicken, and then the attack gains go again or deal 1 arcane damage. Now, they talk about, why they felt like they had to change this here, where it was because of Spectra and things like that, right? So, they do a weird job of explaining it here. So I'll read out Spectra off of the release notes from Monarch. So, if a card with Spectra becomes the target of an attack, destroy it and close the combat chain. The attack does not resolve. So this leads to some kind of weird interactions where if you play an attack action card, it destroys the Quicken token or the Runechant. But if you attack with a weapon, the attack does not resolve. Therefore, you have not attacked with the weapon, so the token does not blow up if you're targeting something with Spectra. So they've changed it to now be when you play or activate the weapon attack. So these will still trigger even if you're targeting something with Spectra with a weapon. So pretty straightforward. And then, like I said, most of the rest of these are pretty interesting. So I think this is an interesting interaction here with the Zephyr Needle and Phantasmal Footsteps. Now, if the condition is ever met, it triggers at the beginning of the end step instead of, if the condition is no longer being applied at the, when the effect would trigger, it does not trigger. So it kind of rolls over that activation to the trigger point, if that makes sense. I'm kind of explaining that weird. But, so here's a good one right here. They give an example with Carrion Husk. Yeah, so if Zephyr Needle was defended by Carrion Husk, you can choose to resolve the defend trigger first, which prevents it from being destroyed because it's banished and therefore it's no longer being blocked by a card with more block than it has attack. So I hope that makes sense. But the other one I wanted to just mention real quick is Fractal Replication. So now the new version of it, and I assume this is active or active immediately, right? But they reworded it where it only gains the base abilities of illusionist attack action cards on the chain. So basically, if something buffs a card, it does not copy those buffs. It's just the base values of the attacks and everything. So pretty straightforward, but I thought I'd mention it. Now let's talk about this, right? So I went to Nationals a couple weekends ago in Charlotte, the U.S. Nationals, sorry. And yeah, we saw a lot of Oldhams. Oldham was very present. And they actually make a point here to kind of talk about a lot of the heroes that have been finding success. If you see here, the the top hero in a lot of different places was actually Oldham. So yeah, he's been very present. He kind of feels like Starvo Light right now. So what they did was they banned Pulse of Eyes and Loft. So the only deck that this will interact with, this band will interact with, is Oldham currently. So I think this is okay. I think this is a little bit I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this change. I mean, I definitely understand why they did it, right? Because not only can you fuse Oak and Old off of this with just the one card, but it also feels really bad to have them pitch Pulse of Eisenluft into their hero ability, and get the ice and the earth defense reaction. So I definitely think this is a good pick. I think Endless Winter would have been another good one to go. Turn one fused Endless Winter feels so bad. I had it. I got hit with that twice at Nationals as dash, and just it feels bad, man. It just does. I don't think that there should be something that you can do on turn one that cripples you so much as Endless Winter does. Surprisingly, I won both of those games, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty brutal. But yeah, so they have a long write up about why they chose this card. How they're using this kind of ban and restricted kind of, why they're choosing this card essentially, and how they're using the ban and restricted list in Classic Constructed. It's an interesting read if you're playing CC. Like I said, probably not the card I would have picked to ban, but I think it is definitely in the top 5 cards that could have been banned that would positively affect the meta. Which honestly, I think we have a really good meta right now. I was pretty happy with what I saw there. So lots of dash. I love dash. So love to see that. The more interesting of the two though is actually the Blitz ban list. So they've moved Bloodsheath Galetta to banned, which is weird. I think so. It was suspended, right? And then when Viserai went out, when he hit Living Legend, they banned or they unbanned it, and then they suspended Sonata Arconyx. So now that Bloodsheath Galetta is gone, which is it banned in CC? I don't know. I'll have to check. But now that it's gone in Blitz, they brought back the Sonata Arconyx. So that's a fun card to play. I'm kind of glad to see it back. I think that is definitely the healthier of the two cards. Scaletta just leads to too many crazy interactions. So I'm kind of glad that they axed that one. But it does. I think Rune Blades as a whole were pretty powerful in the meta, but they were not overpowered. Like once Viserai went out, I don't think Chain is really in a good spot in Blitz. I mean, he's still okay. I'd say he's kind of like a B tier hero, right? Because the games just don't last long enough for Chain to really get going. So Briar's very solid, but she's definitely better in CC, where she has time to kind of set up her big channel mount heroic turns and stuff like that. So interesting pick here though. Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. This is not one I was expecting to see go out. I know that there are a lot of combo decks that use Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, but I think just the reason they gave for it is very spot on, right? It gives so much value. So your health pools in Blitz are just so low that like a single card worth of value matters a whole lot. And the fact that you can just go fetch basically any card, like they say, it's basically 5 points of damage worth of resources that you just have on the board from the get-go. So they're kind of trying to balance Blitz around limiting card advantage. So that's the same reason they banned Heart and Cross Strap, they said, which I totally see that. I definitely think this is a good call. I'm wondering if there's going to be more ninja support coming up, because I don't think there's anything so overpowered right now in Blitz that this is like absolute bonkers. But I definitely think, I mean, ninjas have been powerful in Blitz, right? You have Ira and you have Benji. Benji's okay. I mean, they had that big combo deck that was going around for a little bit. That once you figure out how to play against it, it's very weak, or not very weak, but it's not as good as people thought it was. I remember when people when Everfest first came out and that card, the combo card came out, some people were taking him to CC or her. Is it he or she? I don't know. Anyways, taking them to CC events and finding success there, which is actually funny because later down in the list they talk about they have set it so Classic Construct is only for adult heroes now, and Blitz is only for young. So I thought that was an interesting change. I'm not super happy with that because I thought it was cool that you could bring young heroes if you were like super good at this young hero. But it is kind of weird when like Prism, for instance, gets banned and somebody shows up with a young Prism. Like, that's kind of stupid. But I do think that was kind of a miss in my opinion, that they banned the young heroes, which this could be future proofing, right? Because they say, they don't want something like Shiana to become a problem in Classic Constructed. So I understand that, but the one that I really wanted to talk about here is Storm Striders. So if you've played Blitz at all lately, Wizard is absolutely like S plus plus tier. Like very good. Kano just, even though they've banned a lot of things out of his arsenal, so you have Snapback and Stir the Aether Winds are both gone, but like two of the most powerful wizard cards. He's still so good. It's this does I think this is too much. I think this is too far. It's only suspended, so it's not banned. But I think that they'll probably have to revert this because Wizard is just gonna be gone, especially Kano. I think. I think he's still gonna be okay because you can still do a lot of damage. But things like what's the one? I actually just opened a extended art version of it not that long ago. The Aether Wildfire, Wildfire. That card you have to play it on your opponent's turn. So if you don't hit it off the top, if you have it in hand, it's dead card, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think Stormstriders. I think maybe they could have killed Aether Wildfire, and I think it would have been a lot better. Or honestly, the Kano specialization cards are both very strong as well. So I don't know the correct way to balance Kano, but I think Stormstriders is such an integral part of the Wizard identity that this pushed it a little bit too far. So, but we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of the breakdown here. Like I said, they also banned Yorick in Ultimate Pit Fight, which is funny. But I don't think that any of these kind of like. So I know Ultimate Pit Fight is not like a constructed event, or sorry, a constructed environment or whatever. So Yorick and all the other like Mimi heroes like Rudy and all those other guys, they're not constructed legal. So Ultimate Pit Fight's kind of like a weird gray area, right, where it's not really policed, but now they kind of have to. Like Yorick, I think Yorick is just really not meant to be played. It's like a fun card. It's like they didn't really think about the gameplay or like actual interactions. It was mostly just like, this is a cool idea to celebrate what our company is kind of built around. So I don't think he was ever really meant to be put on the table to be played with, if that makes sense. So I don't know. But yeah, so here's the thing. They said Blitz is for young heroes only and Classic Constructed is adult heroes only. So the next banned and suspended announcement will be November 9th, which is 2 days before Dynasty comes out. So I'm curious to see if they're worried about cards in Dynasty, kind of like I think they pre-banned Stubby Hammerers before Phi came out, because that would have been pretty insane. Also with like things like Double Strike, there's a lot of good cards that would combo really well with that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Is this a good banned and suspended announcement? Could it have been better? Let me know which cards you guys would have picked aside from these. Which ones would you have left legal? Which ones would you have banned instead of these? If you have a better way to kind of round out Oldhim or Kano in their respective formats, how would you do it? How would you approach that? I don't know. Let me know. I'm very interested in hearing what you guys think. But I hope you have a good night, and thanks for tuning in.